There comes a moment in every life when the ground beneath you gives way, not from an earthquake, but from the betrayal of those you once trusted. It's not the betrayal itself that defines you, but how you rise from it. They believed their actions would shatter you, reduce you to fragments of who you once were. But in their attempt to break you, they forged a resilience they never anticipated. Their betrayal, intended as your downfall, became the catalyst for your ascent. We explore how the deepest wounds can give rise to the strongest warriors, and how the curses cast by others can transform into our greatest blessings. Resilience is born in the ruins. When betrayal strikes, it does not announce itself with the courtesy of a warning. It enters your life like a sudden storm, tearing down what you thought was secure, exposing the frailty of human promises. In the immediate aftermath, it feels as though everything solid has crumbled beneath you. The foundations you built your trust upon lie shattered, and the life you knew seems almost unrecognizable. There is grief, there is confusion, and there is an overwhelming silence that fills the space where certainty once lived. But it is precisely in this desolation that something extraordinary begins to happen. You do not see it at first. Pain blinds the eyes to the slow, stubborn process taking place beneath the surface. Like seeds buried under the ashes of a forest fire, resilience starts to grow where ruin once ruled. It does not grow because you willed it into being in a moment of clarity or strength. It grows because something inside of you refuses to die. Something ancient, something deeper than the wounds inflicted on you begins to stir. We often imagine strength as something loud, something forceful. We think of it as bold declarations, defiant postures, and the immediate reclaiming of power. But true resilience is quieter. It is built not in the spotlight, but in the hidden, private hours when no one is watching. It forms when you get up, not because you feel victorious, but because staying down would mean surrendering a part of yourself you refuse to give away. In those silent moments of endurance, something sacred is forged. What they tried to break was not just your heart or your hope, they aimed to dismantle your very spirit, to convince you that your worth was conditional, that it could be destroyed with an act of disloyalty. They thought that if they wounded you deeply enough, you would lose faith not just in them, but in yourself. And for a while, perhaps they succeeded. Doubt crept in, fear took hold. You questioned everything, even the parts of yourself that had once felt so sure, so unshakable. But here is the miracle they never anticipated. The destruction they caused became the very conditions necessary for your rebirth. Pain, when endured with integrity, transforms into wisdom. Loss, when faced with courage, transforms into clarity. Betrayal, when processed through truth rather than bitterness, transforms into a strength that cannot be imitated by those who have never suffered. There is a certain dignity in surviving something meant to destroy you. It refines you, strips away the illusions you once held about the world, about others, about yourself. You stop looking for validation from the people who once betrayed you. You stop needing the approval of those whose loyalty was so cheaply sold. Instead, you begin to recognize something unbreakable within you, a foundation not built by others, but discovered in the ruins they left behind. At some point, without realizing exactly when it happened, you find that the betrayal no longer defines you. It no longer governs your identity. It becomes merely a chapter in your story, not the title of your life. And that is the true revenge. Not bitterness, not anger, but the simple, undeniable fact that you are still standing, still breathing, still believing in a future that they tried to convince you was no longer possible. There is a strange gratitude that grows out of this kind of suffering. Not gratitude for the betrayal itself, that would be to romanticize cruelty, but gratitude for what it revealed. You see more clearly now. You know yourself better. You trust less easily. But when you do trust, it is deeper, more conscious. Your heart becomes both softer and stronger, capable of compassion, but no longer so easily deceived. The ruins they left behind became your training ground. The darkness they plunged you into became the place where you learned to generate your own light. They thought they were ending your story, but in reality they were only ending a chapter. And the next chapter, written by your own hand, fueled by your own resilient spirit, would be greater than anything they ever imagined. Resilience is not something you seek. It is something revealed in you when life offers you no other option but to survive with your soul intact. It is not a shield you pick up, but a core of fire within you that burns more fiercely when the winds of betrayal try to snuff it out. And once you have seen this fire in yourself, you are never the same again. You realize that your spirit is not as fragile as they assumed. It is not made of glass, easily shattered. It is made of something eternal, something that cannot be undone by human faithlessness. And with that realization comes a freedom greater than anything you knew before. The freedom to walk forward, unburdened by the need to prove yourself to anyone who tried to break you. Because in the end, it was not you who broke. It was their illusion of control. It was their false belief that they held your future in their hands. And now it is they who live in the ruins of their choices, while you rise from yours, crowned not with bitterness, but with resilience. Moral debt always comes due. There is a law woven into the fabric of life that no one escapes, no matter how clever they believe themselves to be. It is not written on paper, nor is it enforced by human hands, but it is as real and as relentless as gravity. It is the law that says every action carries a consequence, every betrayal a price. People may think they can escape the weight of what they have done, but reality has a way of keeping accounts open longer than they expect. Sooner or later, the moral debt comes due. In the beginning, it may seem as if they have gotten away with it. They walk away from the damage they caused without a backward glance. They build new lives, smile in new photographs, and carry on as if nothing has happened. To the outside world, it appears they have succeeded in outrunning the consequences of their betrayal. But appearances are shallow. Beneath the surface, something begins to unravel. A fracture opens in the soul that no amount of distraction can fully repair. Betrayal is not simply an action against another person. It is an act of violence against one's own integrity. Every time someone chooses deceit over loyalty, selfishness over honor, they chip away at the foundation of their own character. They may not feel it immediately. In fact, they often feel powerful in the moment, emboldened by the idea that they have manipulated reality to their favor. But life is patient. It does not rush to deliver the full weight of the consequences. It waits, allowing time for the soul to decay under its own deception. There is a hidden cost to betrayal that cannot be measured in material terms. It is not about losing relationships or opportunities or reputation, though those losses may come eventually. The true cost is internal. It is the slow erosion of self-respect, the quiet but relentless gnawing of guilt and shame. At first it can be ignored. People bury it under distractions, addictions, busyness. But the human spirit is not so easily fooled. Deep down, they know what they have done, and deep down, they cannot escape it. One of the cruelest ironies is that those who betray often believe that time will wash their sins clean. They think that if they just move on, find new friends, build a new life, they can leave the past behind. But time does not erase moral debts, it only amplifies them. The longer the debt remains unpaid, the heavier it becomes. It shows up in moments of silence, in restless nights, in the hollow feeling that no new success or relationship can fully satisfy. Sometimes the consequences appear in ways they do not immediately connect to their betrayal. Relationships begin to fall apart without clear reason. Trust erodes in every direction. Anxiety, depression, and a deep sense of isolation creep in. Opportunities slip away. Peace becomes a memory rather than a reality. Life, which once seemed full of possibilities, now feels increasingly barren. They may blame others, blame circumstances, even blame bad luck. Anything but the truth they refuse to face, that the destruction they sowed outward has now taken root inward. Meanwhile, those they betrayed, those they thought they had broken, are often undergoing a very different transformation. Having walked through the fire of betrayal, they emerge refined, wiser, and stronger. They have learned the hard lessons. They have rebuilt themselves on foundations more secure than the ones that crumbled. They have learned who they are without the approval or validation of others. In contrast, the betrayer remains trapped in the prison they built with their own hands, even if that prison is invisible to the casual observer. There is a kind of justice that requires no intervention. You do not need to seek revenge. You do not need to campaign for your vindication. Reality itself moves toward balance. Life has a way of evening the scales. In ways seen and unseen, spoken and unspoken, the weight of their actions finds them. They discover, often too late, that freedom cannot be built on a foundation of broken trust, that happiness cannot be sustained when guilt rots the roots of the soul. It is tempting to wish for immediate justice, to hope that they suffer as you suffered. But the deeper truth is this: the greatest justice is not found in their downfall. It is found in your freedom, your healing, your growth, your refusal to let their betrayal dictate the course of your life. That is where real victory lies. Let life handle them. Focus on rising, on becoming someone they no longer have the power to touch, even in memory. When you understand that the moral debt always comes due, you stop waiting for them to apologize. You stop needing them to acknowledge what they did. You stop wishing for a reckoning that fits your timetable. You know deep in your bones that life has already written the bill. And one day, whether tomorrow or decades from now, they will have to pay it, not to you, but to the truth itself. Betrayal may seem to win for a season. It may even appear to prosper for a time. But no one escapes the weight of reality forever. Every lie carves a scar into the soul of the one who tells it. Every selfish act plants seeds that bear bitter fruit. Every act of disloyalty creates a future that cannot support true joy. And when the harvest comes, as it always does, there is no bargaining with it. There is no escape. It is not you who will be haunted by what happened. It is not you who will carry the invisible chains. They thought they broke you, but it was themselves they condemned. It was their own spirit they mortgaged. And when the time comes for the debt to be paid, no amount of denial, no amount of pretending will spare them from the reckoning they called upon themselves. Your pain becomes your power. Pain is an experience we are taught to run from. From the time we are young, we are told to avoid it, to shield ourselves from it, to see it as something that only weakens and diminishes us. And yet, the truth is far more complex. Pain, when faced instead of fled from, does not merely wound, it transforms. It takes the very fibers of our being and reforges them into something stronger, something more enduring than comfort could ever create. When you're betrayed, It felt like a part of you had been torn away. It wasn't just the loss of trust or the end of a relationship. It was the collapse of a belief you held about the world and about yourself. It was the shock of realizing that no matter how purely you loved, how loyally you stood, someone could still choose to hurt you. And in that moment, pain carved deep into your spirit. But what they could not predict, what they could never control, was what you would do with that pain. You could have allowed it to destroy you, to poison your heart and turn you bitter. You could have allowed it to reduce you to someone who trusts no one, who builds walls so high that even your own dreams can no longer reach you. And for a time, perhaps you did retreat. Perhaps you did harden. But something deeper within you knew that pain left to rot only creates more suffering. Instead, you chose another path. You chose to confront the pain, to sit with it, to learn from it. You refused to allow it to dictate the terms of your future. And in doing so, you discovered a secret that few are willing to seek, that pain, properly understood, is a gateway to a deeper kind of strength, a power not borrowed from others, but earned through the refining fires of life itself. Pain stripped away your illusions, but it left behind something purer. It taught you who you were, without the applause, without the approval, without the false comforts that once disguised the truth. You learned that your value does not come from being chosen by others. It does not come from being understood or accepted or celebrated. Your value is inherent. It is rooted in the simple, unchangeable fact of your existence. Once you realize that, once you see that you survive the worst without losing your soul, a different kind of power takes root. It is not loud, it is not boastful, it does not demand attention. It is the quiet certainty that you can endure whatever life throws at you because you have already endured what should have destroyed you. That certainty changes everything. Pain also gave you vision. You see more clearly now, not just the darkness in others, but also the light. You are no longer so easily deceived by empty promises or superficial charm. You know what loyalty looks like because you have seen what betrayal does. You recognize real love because you have tasted the bitterness of its counterfeit. Your heart, far from becoming colder, has become wiser, more discerning, and paradoxically, more capable of true compassion. This is the irony that those who hurt you will never understand. They thought they were weakening you by causing you pain. They thought they were diminishing you. In reality, they were unintentionally participating in the process of your awakening. They handed you, without realizing it, the very tools you would use to build a life that no longer depends on their presence, their approval, or even their memory. You carry your pain not as a burden now, but as a badge. Not as something that weighs you down, but as something that reminds you who you are. It has taught you resilience, clarity, empathy, and strength. It has taught you to trust your intuition, to honor your boundaries, to love yourself fiercely when others fail to do so. It has taught you that suffering, while real and brutal, does not have the final word over your story. And then perhaps most importantly, it has given you purpose. When you have suffered and survived, you carry within you the ability to light the way for others who are still in the midst of their darkness. You understand their pain, not from a distance, but intimately. Your scars become a map for them, silent testimony that healing is possible, that life after betrayal is not only possible, but can be far richer, far deeper than anything you knew before. You no longer seek vengeance. You no longer waste your energy wishing they would come back and apologize or understand what they did. That chapter is closed. The only thing you carry forward is the power you gained from the lessons they could never take from you. It is a simple but profound truth. They thought their betrayal would diminish you, but all they did was introduce you to a part of yourself that you might never have discovered otherwise, the part of you that is unbreakable, untouchable, and fiercely alive. They thought they buried you in grief. They did not realize you were a seed. Your pain has become your power, and from that power, you will create a life that does not merely survive the past, it transcends it. Healing is the greatest form of victory. When we are first wounded, revenge often feels like the only language the heart understands. It whispers to us that justice will only be served when those who hurt us suffer the same pain they caused. It's a seductive thought, and one that comes naturally in the early stages of betrayal. The mind becomes consumed with scenarios of vindication, of setting the scales right, but over time, something deeper, something far more powerful begins to take root within us. The realization that true victory is not found in someone else's downfall. True victory is found in our own healing. Healing is not passive. It is not the absence of pain or the simple passage of time. Healing is an act of courage. It demands that we face the full weight of our wounds without flinching, without running, without numbing ourselves with distractions. It requires us to sit with the memories that hurt, to acknowledge the anger, the sadness, the betrayal, and to choose again and again not to let those feelings define us. Most of healing is a choice we make every single day, even when bitterness would be easier. And you heal, you reclaim something that betrayal tried to steal, your sense of self. Betrayal has a way of making us question our own worth, our own judgment, even our own reality. It plants seeds of doubt that, if left unchecked, can grow into forests of fear. But when you commit to healing, you uproot those seeds. You say, I am more than what was done to me. I am not defined by another's inability to honor me. Healing restores your inner ground. It teaches you to trust yourself again. The power of healing is that it transforms your pain into wisdom, your wounds into strength. It doesn't erase what happened. It doesn't pretend that the betrayal wasn't devastating, but it allows you to carry the experience in a way that builds you, not breaks you. You are no longer just someone who was betrayed. You are someone who survived, someone who grew, someone who learned how to create beauty even from ashes. Healing also frees you from the chains of needing external justice. The truth is, many times the people who wronged you will never admit it. They will never apologize in the way you deserved. They will carry on, perhaps even believing they did nothing wrong. Waiting for them to make things right is a prison you build for yourself, and healing is the key that unlocks the door. You do not heal because they deserve forgiveness. You heal because you deserve freedom. As you heal, you begin to see that their actions were a reflection of them, not of you. Their betrayal spoke volumes about their character, their fears, their brokenness. It had little to do with your value or your worthiness of love. Healing separates your identity from your injury. It places the blame where it belongs and allows you to step out from under its shadow. One of the most profound changes that healing brings is the ability to love again. Not blindly, not recklessly, but wisely and fully. Betrayal teaches you caution, but healing teaches you trust. Not trust in everyone, but trust in your ability to discern, trust in your ability to survive, trust in your own strength. Healing does not harden you, it hones you. It teaches you the art of living with your heart open while keeping your eyes clear. Healing is not a straight path. There are days when the pain resurfaces, when old memories sting like fresh wounds. That is not a failure. That is part of the process. Healing is cyclical, not linear. It ebbs and flows like the tide. But with each cycle, the pain loses a little more of its grip. It becomes something you carry lightly, rather than something that drags you down. In time, you find that healing has given you something even greater than peace. It has given you purpose. You become a voice for others who are still trapped in their pain. You become proof that it is possible to rise, that betrayal is not the end, that hearts can be broken and still beat stronger. You become a living testament to the fact that healing is not only possible, it is powerful. It's the greatest irony is that the ones who betrayed you, the ones who thought they had the final word in your story, will one day see that they were merely a footnote in a much larger narrative. They intended to diminish you, but your healing magnifies you. They intended to leave you shattered, but your healing made you whole in ways you had never been before. Victory is not seeing them suffer. Victory is standing tall, unbent, and unbroken. Victory is laughing without bitterness, loving without fear, living without the weight of what they did. Healing is a revolution of the soul. It says, "You tried to destroy me, but you only succeeded in helping me find a part of myself that I didn't know was there." Healing is not just survival, it is transformation. It is the quiet but undeniable proof that you were and are far stronger than they ever imagined. And that strength, that radiant, unshakable strength, is the victory that nothing and no one can ever take away from you. The betrayal cursed them, not you. When you were betrayed, it was easy to believe that the wound would mark you forever. In those first brutal moments, it seemed like you had been the one left carrying the burden, as if their choices had diminished your worth or stolen something essential from your spirit. But time, reflection, and truth reveal something far more profound. Betrayal never curses the betrayed. It curses the betrayer. The stain of their actions stays with them long after you have begun to heal. The reality is that betrayal carries its own built-in consequences. When someone chooses to violate trust, to wound what was sacred, they fracture something inside themselves that they cannot easily repair. They teach themselves that loyalty is meaningless, that love is expendable, that truth is flexible. Even if they walk away appearing confident, even if they act as though they are untouched by what they have done, a seed has been planted deep within them, a seed of guilt, of regret, of emptiness that will grow over time. You see, when you betray someone who loved you purely, you don't just hurt them, you harm your own capacity to receive real love in the future. Trust is a bridge not only built outward but inward. When they burned that bridge with you, they taught themselves not to trust others, and even more tragically, not to trust themselves. That is the hidden curse betrayal places upon the betrayer, a deep, gnawing distrust of their own heart. In the quiet hours of the night, when the masks come off and the distractions fade, they are left alone with the memory of what they destroyed. They are left to wrestle with the knowledge that someone offered them something rare and beautiful, and they turned it away. No amount of denial can erase that truth. No amount of external success can fill the hollow space left behind. This is the reality they live with, even if they never speak it out loud. Meanwhile, you, though wounded, though brought low for a time, begin to rise. Because betrayal, while devastating, does not have the final word over your life. It may slow your steps, it may break your heart, but it cannot define you unless you let it. Healing is your rebellion. Growth is your triumph. Every step you take toward wholeness is a reminder that you are stronger than the weapon they tried to use against you. What they failed to realize is that love is not weakness, loyalty is not foolishness, trust is not naivety. These are not vulnerabilities, they are strengths, immense, courageous strengths that few have the bravery to offer. They mistook your kindness for fragility, but it was never fragility. It was a reflection of your deep and powerful spirit, a spirit they could not match, and thus sought to wound. Their betrayal revealed far more about them than it ever did about you. It exposed the cracks in their character, the smallness of their spirit, the fear that governed their choices. People who are whole do not betray those who love them. People who are at peace with themselves do not destroy the very connections that nourish them. Their actions were a confession of their own brokenness. Over time, as you heal, you gain something priceless: peace. You no longer carry the weight of wondering why they did what they did. You realize that their betrayal was not a commentary on your worth, but a revelation of their limitations. You no longer see yourself as the victim of their actions, but as someone who survived a storm and emerged stronger, wiser, and more alive than before. And while you move forward, creating new relationships, building a life rooted in truth and honor, they remain chained to the consequences of their own decisions. They may pretend otherwise, they may wear new masks, build new facades, but deep within, the truth festers. They know, even if they refuse to say it, that they lost something irreplaceable when they lost you. And that knowledge is a far greater punishment than anything you could ever wish upon them. The betrayal did not curse you. It refined you. It sharpened your intuition, deepened your wisdom, strengthened your heart. It taught you to be more discerning, to guard your spirit, not out of fear, but out of respect for your own worth. You have not been diminished, you have been elevated. You have been forced to confront parts of yourself that comfort alone would never have revealed. And in the end, your life becomes the greatest answer to their betrayal. Not bitterness, not revenge, not even indifference, but a life so rich, so full of authenticity and meaning, that it stands as living proof that they did not break you. They freed you. They freed you from illusions, from false promises, from people who could never meet you where you were meant to go. You are not cursed. You are not broken. You are not defined by their choices. They are